In my grandmother's laundry there hangs an elaborate wooden shield decorated in motorcycle medallions. These medallions once adorned the sidecar of the motorcycle that my grandmother and grandfather rode in Germany after the war. These medallions were one of the few keepsakes they brought with them when they migrated to Australia. It was on this motorcycle that my grandparents spent their honeymoon. With another couple they travelled southern Germany, touring Bavaria, the Great Lakes and Heidelberg. They camped in tents and ate at small cafes along the way. The war had ended 8 years earlier, and this seems to have been a happy time. Yet they left the country only months later, and I've always wondered why. My grandfather Bruno was only 9 when the war broke out. My grandmother Christine, slightly older, aged 11. Bruno served as a naval cadet during the war, whilst Christine enrolled in nursing school. After the war, they both found themselves in Frankfurt trying to get their young lives together. It was here that they met and fell in love. But life was tough. Germany had been shattered by the war, and for many years the country remained occupied by the Allied forces. The Americans, however, weren't so bad.
When we had to move out at 45, when we got occupied, I saw 2 magazines, one that kill Japs and kill more Japs, and the other one that gives the Germans hell. That was a situation in the States, but most of them were completely different to us.
Rebuilding was a long process and unemployment was rife. Luckily, Bruno found work as a guard at the American Army base, while Christine continued with her work at the nursing school and hospital. However, the housing shortage remained a major problem.
They asked me the first thing, they said, "Are you pregnant?" And I said, "No." So you came on the bottom of the list. You could have waited years and years.
A young married couple needs a home to settle down in, so at the end of 1953, they decided to cut their losses and make a fresh start in Australia. My mother and aunt were born several years later. Although life was easier here, life as new arrivals was still hard, and Christina acknowledges that their young family missed out on many things.
I said I never regretted coming here, but sometimes I felt sorry that I really deprived them of family. Because when one of them said one day next door they had the grandparents there, they stood in front of me, of course they were little, and said, "Haven't we got a nana?" Yeah. And I also could not tell them about things I treasure, like history and people in history, though what would have meant nothing for them.